Hi, I'm Danielle Irvine, a member of the Siminovitch Prize Jury that selected this exceptional 2025 Siminovitch Prize shortlist. I'd like to introduce you to the incredible, groundbreaking artists, Ravi Jain, Anne-Marie Olivier, Estelle Shook, and Adrienne Wong. Hello, folks. Congratulations. Welcome.
Hello. Hello.
You just learned who the other shortlisted artists are, and you're meeting for the first time. What's this moment like?
I don't know about anyone else here, but it's very strange having an opportunity to reconnect with some artists and to meet new artists in this context.
I'm excited. I'm excited and nervous because everyone is so incredibly talented and has such a body of work that I'm so curious about. And we're all so very different.
You are very different. That was the most exciting and challenging part of being on the jury. It's just the range of artists we have in this country.
Ben oui, moi je me trouve juste vraiment chanceuse de pouvoir discuter avec vous. C'est vrai que c'est bizarre un peu. J'ai hâte qu'on soit en personne, mais puis d'en apprendre sur ce que vous faites. Vous semblez être des artistes libres, des artistes qui réinventent des nouvelles choses, puis je trouve ça vraiment excitant. J'ai hâte d'en apprendre plus.
It's great. I'm super excited to get to know you all, and really honored to be alongside each one of you.
You each approach theater from different angles. How would you describe your creative process from spark to stage?
Ben, moi, j'ai été formée comme interprète dans une école au Conservatoire de Québec où on apprenait à jouer, mais à écrire aussi à partir de la réalité. Puis, dans le début de ma carrière, j'étais vraiment juste interprète. J'ai rencontré Wajdi Mouawad, ça a été ma deuxième école. J'ai aimé ça, le fait qu'il fasse du théâtre, pour changer le monde, en tout cas tendre vers ça. Puis j'ai rencontré une femme exceptionnelle qui s'appelle Véronique Côté, la 1re membre de ma famille de création. Puis en faisant des essais de fiction, à un moment donné, on a juste fait, des cueillettes d'histoires vraies et là, je suis tombée à la renverse et je suis encore à ce jour à genoux devant le pouvoir des histoires vraies. Donc, il y a eu ce processus de cueillette d'histoires et c'est tellement fascinant parce qu'il y a 1000 histoires qui attendent d'être racontées, hein, et c'est innombrable, mais aussi des fois, ce qu'on trouve en faisant des cueillettes d'histoires est plus exaltant que ce qu'on cherchait.
For me, it's really about oh, what do I want to say, and like the process is really key of who's in the room, who do we gather together to kind of interrogate this idea, and that the process that we make, it's never the same because the individuals aren't the same, and we're all trying to um, you know inspire, surprise, and revolt around a status quo. So it really kind of is uh, comes from the people in the room, and really what are we trying to say, and what's worth an audience, listening to now. Like we're taking people's time. Like the time is the most precious thing, and so if we're going to invite people to come into a ring and sit for however long, it's got to be something that hopefully will be worth their time. So what are you trying to say?
I would say that my artistic practice is inspired by ideas and articulation of tough ideas, but what really gets me going is dissatisfaction. So if I see something or I experience something and it makes me feel dissatisfied, like I wish it was different, then the next thought is, oh, maybe it could be this. Maybe it could be something else. So dissatisfaction drives me. There's a lot, there's a lot of it, uh, but it also inspires me.
I would add, for me, I start with the audience. I I feel like we are all audience. We start as an audience, and we are also paradoxically always performers. And so I look to an audience and I feel like I serve an audience as an artist. I am in service to an audience in a particular community, and that community can change given geographies. And I kind of long form improvise with the environment. Um, what is the space? Who are the artists? And as a host, often as someone who leads a company, I'm hosting and calibrating who are the artists that need to be here, that want to be here, who are the artists that this audience, this community needs to know, to hear from. And so it's that putting together that fabulous banquet, that fabulous party. And so when I think about it, I feel like I'm in a kind of slow motion improvisational dance, really responding, always responding. I never feel like it's actually coming from deeply within, even though there's so much of me wrapped up in the work that I do. And that's about building a place where there is more unity and community and more connection.
How does geography shape your artistic choices?
I can speak as someone who spent most of my time creating in BC and in a rural environment. And absolutely, geography often influences how populated a space is, what its resource industries are, if it has a resource industry, if there's a large um, influx of folks that's in a tourist region, if you're by the sea, it definitely, of course, impacting all of that, and underneath everything is Indigenous sovereignty and the first peoples of that land. And of course, if the land has shaped an Indigenous people's language and story and worldview, that it slowly is doing the same work on us, settlers and visitors and newly supplanted folks.
My work is shaped by geography more in the sense of the logistics of space, the distance of space, and the opportunity that these huge advances in telecommunication technology have given us to collapse that space, collapse that time until we are almost in the same instantaneous moment. We're not quite there, but we are milliseconds away from each other right now. That when we're casting our thoughts or our intentions towards each other, that in that moment of sharing the energy, sharing the effort of thinking about one another, that we are together.
A geography meet for me is, we're an international company, so it really applies to all the collaborators that we bring together. And then the touring of our work, that it's always on the road in some capacity, and it's going to other places. And what's really special about that is with geographies come cultures, languages, and totally different understandings of what theater even is, and how to find a language that is able to communicate across cultures. That is so much of what it is that I think we play with as storytellers, is we're looking for a language. And so how do we refine the ability to make sure that I understand how I'm connected? And that's geography. That's the pleasure of that for me is infinite, because you can always make changes and you're always refining based on looking for something that's just deeper than the perceived barriers, cultural barriers that we have to something, as Estelle, I think, was saying, something more human, something deeper in our DNA, that is why we tell stories.
Moi, je le considère, toute cette affaire-là, plus dans la géographie peut-être, je sais pas, mais moi, c'est plus les questions sociales. De quoi avons-nous besoin de nous parler socialement dans cette ville-ci? Comment avons-nous besoin de se parler en tant qu'humains avec la situation mondiale aussi? Je veux dire, si les artistes sont des oracles, on en a absolument besoin. Là, même, on est peut-être même, je sais pas, on est comme bouleversé par tout ce qui se passe. Donc, c'est plus ça, moi, qui m'intéresse, puis mais bien sûr, le territoire me touche. Le territoire à chaque ville aussi, tu sais, dans chaque ville où on joue, comment ça va résonner, comment on va adapter notre discours, mais aussi comment notre matériel va résonner autrement. Fait que je répète un peu ce que les personnes ont dit, mais c'est ce qui me vient à l'esprit là, en parlant de géographie. Mais c'est tellement de questions intéressantes que j'aimerais ça y réfléchir plus profondément aussi pour peut-être aussi éclairer des angles morts qu'on a dans notre pratique, des fois qu'on intègre des choses, peut-être même inconsciemment, je sais pas.
I have a question for Anne-Marie. Like, how is it different entering into a character as a writer versus entering into a character as a performer?
C'est ça, je suis dans une fête, j'ai vu un homme qui m'a bouleversée, puis j'ai décidé de faire un spectacle sur lui. C'est quelqu'un qui a eu un accident cérébrovasculaire, qui s'appelle Maurice Dancause, puis qui m'a fascinée. Donc j'ai fait des entrevues avec lui, mais c'était intéressant d'être une autrice pour pouvoir, avec le matériel de cueillette que j'ai fait, choisir. Donc comme on fait du montage cinéma, pour vraiment choisir les morceaux, mais on s'est rendu compte quand on les changeait, quand on les altérait, ils n'étaient pas aussi efficaces que quand on s'y collait avec comme lui, la prosodie des mots, la musique des mots est très importante. Donc, quand on s'y collait, comme si les humains qui regardaient reconnaissaient la vérité. En tout cas, je ne sais pas si c'est une pensée magique que j'ai. Donc, le fait d'être une autrice pour choisir les morceaux, pour faire la partition a été intéressante. Puis, comme je joue avec une spectatrice ou un spectateur différent chaque soir qui n'est pas du tout au courant, qui va faire le spectacle avec moi, le fait d'être une autrice me permet d'improviser avec la connaissance que j'ai de mon sujet de recherche. Ça me permet donc d'être une interprète qui écrit, d'écrire cette partition-là. Ça ressemble un peu à un concert de jazz, c'est-à-dire qu'il y a une partition fixe qui s'ouvre à certains moments avec des questions avec la personne. On parle, est-ce que tu as peur de la mort? Qu'est-ce que tu penses de l'amour? Tu sais, vraiment des gros trucs, mais tu sais, c'est en même temps très rigolo. On rit beaucoup parce que cette personne-là, Maurice Dancause, c'est très drôle, très spirituel. Donc, le fait d'être une autrice me permet d'improviser dans un certain sens pour essayer d'être le plus fidèle possible à mon sujet. Fait que c'est difficile de répondre, c'est comme si tout était interrelié ensemble.
I mean, it makes me wonder just kind of how, for everyone, how does the audience influence your work? Like, it's really interesting, Henry. You say, I'm performing here and I have, j'ai un spectateur ici avec moi qui joue, alors il faut que j'improvise. Alors, chaque soir, le spectacle, c'est différent chaque soir. Et je voulais savoir pour Adrienne et Estelle aussi, how does the audience, uh, if at all, impact your work? Especially because it's so different. You know, Adrienne, you're exploring digital performance as well, and Estelle, you're in outdoor performance. How does that work for you guys?
Well, because the audience is such a primary collaborative personhood, um, they continue in that way from the moment they arrive in the space for the performance. And so, um, what I love, why I choose outdoor theater over indoor theater, and why it's so profound and effective is that the audience is so consciously co-creating. They can see the actors, see them, and so it's a very hyper aware, hyper meta, implicitly meta experience. And because that audience is co-creating, in that they are erasing the wings or allowing the wings to inform the piece, because it's meta, and allowing themselves to more robustly enter a metaphorical and poetic space. It I find it's richer emotionally. And when you have an audience that is clearly co-creating and clearly aware that they're part of the spectacle, they are really, their bullshit meter's really, really sharp, really on. It's really on. And so if something happens, like a cat walks across the stage and an actor does not acknowledge it, or if somebody coughs or rustles the chips and an actor doesn't acknowledge it, then the audience's estimation drops. And in general, I just find it keeps it alive and it keeps it emotionally charged.
I'm not ignoring, but I'm entering into the world of the imagination of the play. And I love the sense of space and scale that you achieve there because of those long vistas that you can work with, and the intergenerationality, if I just invented a word, of the casts and the music and the horses and everything, that it feels as much like being at a fair or an exhibition as it does feel like being at the theater. Plus, there's the community of the audience members having a picnic in the parking lot before they come to the show. So there's just this sense of community that feels so central to what I've experienced there. So I agree. It is beautiful and magical. And if you haven't been to the Caravan Farm Theater, well, what's stopping you? For me, audience is very central to what I do as well. In some ways, I want to create a container or a place where the audience can encounter each other. What I'm trying to do is make I think that I've been trying to do this for a while, just make it a place to practice talking to strangers in a safe, comfortable thing with a conversation starter, because that's something that I miss and that I feel like not everybody has an opportunity to practice. So I think about the audience in terms of what they want and need, but also in terms of like, how might I design an environment where their participation is effortless, in contrast to the participatory theater that we've all attended, where they're looking for a volunteer from the audience and everybody kind of shrinks and hides. I want to make it so that it doesn't really feel like you're being called out, but that the invitation is gentle and generous, and that it slowly expands over time, so that by the end of an experience, the end of the show, when people who are formerly strangers are greeting each other as if they are old friends, that feels like a success to me. So the storytelling and the setting and all of the action that happens is in some ways a container or elements in service to this encounter that's not really between me and the audience. So I often perform my own work, but it's between the audience and each other.
Tu sais, moi, je suis obsédée par le public. Je comprends pas pourquoi il y a eu une époque où on se disait: «Peu importe». Non, non, je comme, ça a été mentionné précédemment, c'est des gens qui arrêtent leur vie folle, mettent des sous. Il faut, pour moi, c'est si important d'honorer cette chose-là. Faut pas trop se mettre de poids sur les épaules, mais dans le fond, le théâtre qui est bon, c'est le théâtre qui où il se passe de quoi. Fait que de mettre ça de façon centrale. Qu'est-ce qu'on va vivre ensemble? Ça va être quoi qu'est-ce qui va avoir bougé dans notre tête, dans notre cœur, dans notre corps? Donc tout ça, pour moi, c'est fondamental. C'est fondamental. Puis quand on est capable de tirer justement des petits, quelque chose de très tendu et d'électrique entre nous, sentant que la représentation est réellement unique, mais là, ça devient une fête. Tu fais: «Wow, à quoi j'assiste?» Tu sais? Quand on sent que c'est vivant, cette chose-là, qu'on est ensemble. Là et on a des commentaires comme: «Je savais pas que ça pouvait être ça le théâtre», tu sais? Fait que, je sais pas, moi, i je pense qu'Estelle, tu disais que c'était une danse. Ben, c'est une danse d'où on ressort transformé et le public, c'est fondamental, de danser avec lui et qu'il nous fasse danser aussi.
Le moment que je pense à le plus pour un public, c'est les débuts. Parce que la plupart des gens, leur expérience avec le théâtre, c'est que c'est boring, c'est terrible, oh là là, qu'est-ce que je vais faire pour 2 heures? La plupart des gens, ça c'est le expectation that they arrive, and so how to disarm the audience to, as you said, Emery, like that I'm taking this responsibility seriously, that I'm here to care for this time, and I'm grateful for it. So we've thought about this, and you're in good hands. Especially when I go to shows, I listen to the audience more. You know, there's that feeling when an audience disengages from something. Like it's like there's tension, it's very quiet, and then all of a sudden people start to cough a lot more, or the seats start to shift, and you feel you can feel the rhythm when we're all together and when we fall apart. And sometimes that's okay, and you kind of you dance, and other times you lost us.
How do we, in a large scale way, transform a public into a theater going public?
To engage different people who, as artists, need to do different things, and be in different places. I think that's part of why it's hard for me to be in a theater, because a theater to me as an audience member is not always a comfortable place. It's not like it's not always a place where I feel welcome. It's not always a place where I feel like my presence is imperative, where my voice will be heard or heeded. So I I think that the populism of being where the people are is maybe the gateway drug to the large theaters and their velvet seats, or maybe not. Um, I guess the question I would return is, like, what is the thing? Do we want them to come back with us? Like, are we Pied Pipering with the audience and bringing them back to the theaters? Or is there a different thing that we want to bring to them? Is it about the storytelling, the imagination, the connection, the community that we're trying is it that idea that is what we want to bring forward?
I do think the spaces, the velvet seat, headlock is definitely a culprit, because those are all crystallizations of class and class privilege and class structure, and so they're part of the problem, and so I feel we are on the cusp potentially. And I think what's beautiful is that each of us seem to be working in our areas, in our communities, and in our disciplines, focus of discipline in breaking down and eroding or carving new spaces into community.
C'est très intéressant de se poser la question de qui vient au théâtre, mais surtout qui ne vient pas au théâtre et pourquoi. Donc la question des non publics, comme, vous y faites référence, Estelle. Puis j'aimerais ça que tous les milieux théâtraux se posent cette question-là. J'ai beaucoup réfléchi à ça. Des fois, je me dis: «Il va falloir faire des shows pirates». Donc dans des lieux non conventionnels, non annoncés. Donc est-ce que c'est ça la réponse? Tu sais, je sais pas. Il y a quelque chose de très beau qui se passe dans la ville de Québec. C'est un parcours déambulatoire qui s'appelle «Où tu vas quand tu dors en marchant». C'est gratuit. Il y a des milliers de personnes qui viennent et les gens, ils viennent sans savoir que c'est du théâtre et même ils en repartent puis ils savent même pas. Tu sais, des fois, on parlait avec des gens du public, ils disaient: «Mais oui, mais toi, qu'est-ce que tu fais dans la vie?» Puis là, ils disaient: «Ben, moi, je fais du théâtre». «Hein, c'est du théâtre ça?» Donc cette chose-là, un grand truc qui se passe entre, le coucher du soleil puis 11 heures le soir pendant des tu et c'est, ça donc il y a différentes stations et tout ça, donc ça rejoint un peu l'idée des représentations pirates qu'on peut faire. Je pense aussi qu'il faut investir les lieux avec plus de désobéissance, plus de jeu. Tu sais, il y a tellement de choses qu'on s'est fixées qu'on n'a jamais requestionnées comme praticien, que des fois, tu fais juste changer quelque chose dans la chaîne, puis là, wouah, tout à coup, tu sais, j'ai l'impression que on a tellement besoin d'art, de questions, de beauté dans nos vies que la réponse est multiple. Il y a les lieux non traditionnels, puis les lieux traditionnels aussi de les revigorer, de les vivifier, d'y mettre pas le feu, mais de les vraiment tu sais, il y a toute cette question-là. J'ai l'impression qu'il faut agir sur les 2 pans, mais j'ai pas de réponse, c'est juste des questions que j'ai.
I think just like the word theater itself, and what is that, and I think this panel of people is a great example of of the multifaceted thing that it can be. It can be an exclusive experience, and that's okay. And it can be an inclusive experience, and that's okay too. It doesn't all have to be the same. And I think that, like, when you embrace that, then you can find the right experience for the right audience, and then find a relevance for them, this big T them. And how does the right audience find the right thing, or how do we infiltrate different areas? I mean, I think for me, it's understanding kind of what we're saying and how we're saying and who we're saying it to, and finding and creating those connections so that we're speaking the same language, and that we can connect, that we can actually connect, and we don't have these missed expectations of what we have of each other. That if you're coming to my show and expecting Annie the musical, you're probably not going to have a good time. Like we're gonna miss each other here. Like you came to the wrong restaurant. I'm sorry, we don't serve sushi at all. So how do we set up the right expectations and have the right conversation?
Yes, totally. That it speaks to being in relationship well before, so that all of those contexts are actually suited. I mean, it feels absolutely that what we're all referring to is so much about context, and all of those strands of context that are that go into who are the right questions around whose story is it, who's telling the story, and who is the story for.
Thank you all so very much. It's been an honor and a thrill talking with you today. The Siminovitch Theatre Foundation would like to gratefully acknowledge the Power Corporation of Canada, the presenter of the 2025 shortlist, and their support enables the celebration of you four amazing, exceptional artists on the national stage throughout the year. And to that, there's going to be documentaries about each of these four amazing artists that'll be uploaded to the Siminovitch YouTube channel on December 1st. And we're really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to spending time getting to know you even more. So thank you all. Thank you, folks, for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Merci beaucoup. On se voit en
Merci.
décembre.
Merci. Bonne journée.